Gotta thank Yahuwah for being the chosen seed of Israel. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of Mashiach. Whoa, yeah. I gotta thank Yahuwah for being the chosen seed of Israel. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of the Mashiach.
Shabbat Shalom, Zion. So I wanted to do something a little different today. You know, I'm kind of feeling like I'm in beast mode right now, just ready to go through the scriptures. So you're definitely going to need something to write with and some paper because we're going to be going through a lot of scriptures. And I want to talk about being tried in the fire and what we're going to have to go through and what we're going to have to become. And then I want to talk about fleeing versus waiting on the Most High. So this is going to be a power-packed lesson, a lot of scriptures. We got a lot to go through. And so let's go ahead and go to Psalms 119:11. It says, "For your word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against you." Now, why is this so important? For one, when we hide the word in our hearts, we're not hiding it because we're being selfish or trying to keep it from somebody else. It means that we should never forget it. So we must put it in our heart so that we won't forget it. So when we come across temptations, trials, or whatever, we can think on the scriptures to prevent us from falling into temptation. Because see, temptation is going to always be around us. You know, there's an old saying that you can't prevent the birds from flying above your head, but you can prevent them from making a nest in it. And the Most High has given us certain abilities, brothers and sisters, to be able to resist. All right, so if you got your Apocrypha, this is going to be 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 73. If you have your Sefer, it's going to be 4 Ezra 16:73. So let's read. "Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire." So let's look at this first part. It says, "Then shall they be known who are my chosen." So what's happening all over the world? Our brothers and sisters are waking up. And we've been waking up for a while now, for a very long time. Well, I'm not going to say for a very long time, but we've been waking up ever since the 60s. Might not have been as many in the 60s, but now it's gradually, it's increasing and it's speeding up more and more. And our people are starting to realize their identity. They realize that they've been lied to, and everything that they learned in school was a big fib. And so now our people are waking up. We're all waking up. We're getting back to the Most High's word. We're starting to see the scriptures through the eyes of our forefathers instead of through the eyes of Christianity. But we still have a lot of work to do because we still coming out of all that stuff. And that stuff has brainwashed our people to the core. And so that's why what we're seeing right now, Zion, you can't expect to get this overnight because the Ruach has to work his spirit in us and work all that stuff out of us. I mean, a complete lobotomy has to work all that filth out of us, all those impurities out of us. And so the first step is that the Most High is currently waking his people up all over the world. And then he's going to take us through the fire. Now, we're going to talk about this fire in a little bit because that's going to be important. Because we're like that gold. We're like that gold tried in the fire. And see, the Most High wants to bring us to that next step. And once he purifies us, he's going to bestow power on his chosen people like never before. Nothing ever witnessed since the beginning of time. So let's go to Revelation chapter 3 and verse 18. And please, I encourage you to write these scriptures down. All right, let's read that. It says, "I counsel you to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that ye may be rich, and white raiment, that ye may be clothed, and that the shame of your nakedness do not appear, and anoint your eyes with eyesalve, that ye may see. So there are several things that are going on here. So first, the Most High tells us to buy of me gold tried in the fire. Now, if any of you have ever seen gold turned into a liquid form when it's being tried in a fire, it's amazing. And what's happening to that gold as it's being melted in that extreme heat, where all the impurities are being cleansed from it, all the toxins are being cleansed from it. So in reality, we are that gold, his chosen people. As we read in 2nd Ezra, we are his chosen people that are being tried in that fire. So everything that we're going through, I know it seems like to some of you that there is no hope, that we're a lost cause, but I'm going to tell you something, Zion. That's the way it only seems on the surface. But I'm going to tell you what the Most High is doing with us. He is trying us in the fire as we speak. All these trials that we're going through right now, these tribulations with our family members, jobs, whatever, just being at the bottom as a people, having to deal with and having all these wicked holidays forced on us. This is part of us being the gold tried in the fire, because we have to get to a point, Zion, we have to get to a point where we're so strong, where we're so purified that nothing will be able to break us. And I know it seems like there's a lot of wickedness going on within Zion. There's a lot of confusion, and rightly so, there is. But again, the Most High knows all this stuff is going to happen. He knows the beginning from the end. So don't think that the Most High did not know that this was going to happen. All this confusion in Zion. There's a reason why this is happening, Zion. There's a reason why we're scattered. And so the wheat and the tares are becoming very noticeable. You can almost tell the difference now, because we're getting into a point where it's almost harvest time. So people, our brothers and sisters, are going to have to make a choice. Hebrews are making choices, whether they're going to follow man or they're going to follow the Most High. So as we're being purified as the gold in this fire, a lot of things are going to be purified with it. Because I'm going to tell you something, Zion. Us being tried in this fire that the Most High prepared for us is either going to make us or break us. We're getting ready to see who's really about that paper or who's really about this true walk, and who's living the walk, not just talking it. That's what we're getting ready to see. And already we're starting to see that. All right, so let's continue reading. Still in Revelation chapter 3 and verse 18. And it says that ye may be rich. Rich in what? Rich in faith. Rich in the Ruach. You know, have you ever had a piece of chocolate? You knew that when you ate it, it was just so pure. It was just something about it that you knew that this was the real deal, you know? And that, especially that dark chocolate, that really dark chocolate, that's like the best kind. And when you bite into that dark chocolate, I mean, it is so rich. You know, there's something special about it. And, you know, that's the way our faith has to be, brothers and sisters. We have to be rich in faith, purified. And that's the whole purpose of going through what we're going through right now. So how do we become rich? You know, and you hear this over and over, but it's by rehearsing the word, constantly studying, practicing, putting everything into practice, not just reading it. Like the Bible says, be not hearers of the words, but be ye doers also. You know, we got to constantly put this thing in remembrance, put it into practice. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. Study, study, study. It's repetitious. You know, you have to keep repeating it. That's how you're going to memorize scriptures more. You just got to keep going over it, keep going over it, and keep going over it. You know, how does a musician get to where they are? They have to put in years of practice, years of studying notes, chords, the way the music is written, the ups and the downs, volumes, all that stuff. All right, Zion, so let's go ahead and get some precepts for this. All right, let's go with James chapter 2 and verse 5. It says, "Hearken, my beloved brethren. Has not Yahuwah chosen the poor of this world?" Get it? Chosen the poor of this world, rich in belief. What did we read in Revelation 3:18? That they may be rich, rich in belief, and heirs of the kingdom which he has promised to them that love him. Now, what is the only race of people in the world that has been afflicted, been in captivity, and still at the bottom to this current day? The Negroes scattered to the four corners of the earth. But we're going to get a little more detail. So let's go to Isaiah 61 and verse 1. And it says, the Ruach Adonai Yahuwah is upon me, because Yahuwah has anointed me to preach the Besorah unto the meek. Who is the meek? The Besorah is the gospel. Unto the meek is the poor. It is his chosen people. Remember, we read in Ezra as well too, his chosen will be tried in the fire. So don't let these Christians fool you thinking that this is talking about everybody. No, this is only talking about a certain type of people. Deuteronomy 7:6. Let's continue to read. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted. Who are the brokenhearted? What happened? We lost our heritage. We went into captivity so many times, we became brokenhearted. Let me read that part again. And it says, Yahuwah has anointed me to preach the Besorah unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives. Captives. Who are the captives right now? We are in captivity to the four corners of the earth. And it goes on to say, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Now, we might not have literal chains on our hands and on our feet, but we still have chains, those spiritual chains that are holding us down, because the powers that be are still in charge. And we're coming out of this mindset. We're starting to come out of this mindset, but many of our people are still in this slavery mindset, this captivity mindset that has kept us trapped for so long. The lies of Christianity, the lies of the world, everything that they told us was a complete lie. They hid, well, they tried to hide our identity, but we see that the Most High is revealing all these truths to his people. You want to know what's interesting and crazy? You know, the U.S. school systems now, they're starting to teach that all the races, all the other nations were in slavery, were in some kind of captivity. They're trying to say that everybody was in captivity to try to downplay us being in captivity, the blacks, so-called Negroes. See, any little thing that they can do to try to downplay the truth, they're going to try to do it, because they don't want us to, I'm telling you, Zion, they don't want us to know. Why do you think they're pushing this agenda in Hollywood? The new black is the pale. It's a mixture of all the races. That's what they're portraying as the new black now. It's all in the commercials. I mean, it's everywhere. Everything, every organization is pushing it. And media is pushing this thing out so hard. And you know, and it's crazy because race mixing amongst our people is at a frightening, you hear me, Zion? At a frightening all-time high. I mean, the numbers are staggering. It just blows my mind how our people just don't get it. They can't see it. You know, how we can't just appreciate who we are as a people. Now let's look at 2 Chronicles 7:14, and many of you know that very well. And it says, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Why do we need to turn from our wicked ways? Because our forefathers put us in this mess. So we have to not only pray for our sins, the forgiveness of our sins, but the forgiveness of our forefathers' sins. Because of them, we're in this predicament, but we're not making things any better because we're making the same mistakes. Then he goes on to say, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. And so this is what we got to do, Zion. We got to, first of all, we got to acknowledge this. We got to acknowledge where we are. We got to acknowledge that we messed up. Our forefathers messed up. We continue to mess up. And we got to repent. Not only do we have to repent, but we got to make a change. We got to make a 360. Now, that 360 might not come overnight, but over time, it's going to be perfected. Let's go on to read. It says, now my eyes shall be open, and my ears attend unto the prayer that is made in this place. So if we turn to the Most High, if we turn from our wicked ways, the Most High will hear our prayers. As long as our people continue to ignore the warning signs the Most High has been giving us, we're going to continue to see our brothers and sisters shot down in the streets. We're going to continue to see this agenda that's being pushed on our people to completely eradicate their race. We're going to continue to see all the destruction of our people, the unjust of our people. Something has to give, Zion. Something has to change. And see, that's why I said earlier that we being tried in the fire is going to either make us or it's going to break us. It's going to do either or, Zion. So we better get ready for it. So put on your seatbelts and make sure that by the grace of the Most High that we're planted on solid ground, because it's getting ready to be a shaking like we've never seen before. And I'm telling you, Zion, mark my words, because I told you I'm in beast mode right now, and it's like the Ruach has fell upon me. And I don't even know how long this lesson is going to be, but we're just going to keep on going until my eyes get tired. But let me tell you, after 2019 and 2020 and whatever, however long the Most High decides to allow this thing to go on, many of our people are going to walk away from this truth. Let me tell you why. Because many of our people were only in it for the excitement. Remember I told you, Zion? I said either this fire that we're being tried in is going to either make us or it's going to break us. And that's just the reality of it, Zion. And that's why we have to work out our salvation with fear and trembling like never before. We got to keep our heads in His Word, praying constantly and seeking and trusting in the Most High. Because to trust in anything else, Zion, is going to be a failure. And many of our people are weary, and I got it. You know, we're tired of being tired. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. But it is what it is, Zion. We cannot rush what the Most High has for us. All right? There's still things that has to happen. There are still things that we have to go through, whether we like it or not. We're going to have to be patient and wait on the Most High. So in the meantime, Zion, those of you who feel like the Most High is not coming back fast enough, this is what you need to do. You need to find a way to contribute. You need to find a way to provide ministry to our people. I'm not saying you got to do videos. I'm not saying that you got to do door to door, but you got to find something that can reach our people, Zion. Whatever that may be, whatever the talent that the Most High has blessed you with, we got to find something or some kind of way to reach our people, or you're going to drive yourselves crazy just sitting around hoping that the Most High is going to come back quicker or whenever you want him to come back. Because it's not going to happen like that. We all going to have to play a part, Zion. And so we're going to have to get out of that mindset and get busy and start putting our hands to the plow. And many of you have unique talents that you can use to contribute, because too many of our people sit on the sidelines and complain about what they're not getting, but yet they won't even contribute spiritually, to even help our people, to reach our people. But yet they want to sit on the sidelines and complain. It's no time for that, Zion. Everybody who claims to be awakened and you claim to put your faith in Hamashiach, in the Most High, you're going to have to find a way to contribute. I mean, there's no way around it, Zion. There's just no way around it. We're going to have to make the sacrifices. That's the only way we're going to reach our people. But see, here's the good news, Zion. This situation we're in right now, it's not going to continue forever. Yeah, we're going to be here a little while longer. We don't know how much longer. You know, we know we're living in the last days, but those last days can consist of the next 10 years, 5 years. We just don't know, Zion. So we have to work. We have to put our hands to the plow. You know, Zion, we're going to have to use what the Most High has given us. You know, a garden is not going to plant itself and just grow just because you want it to, and you're sitting back on the sidelines. I want this garden to grow and I want this garden to plant seeds of itself and grow. And you're not doing anything productive to make that garden grow. You're not getting out there working in it. You're not plowing it. You're just sitting back. And see, it doesn't work, Zion, with the Most High. We're going to have to work. And I mean work. So let's go to Jeremiah. And this is something that we don't need to be doing. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 2. It says, "Thus saith Yahuwah, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathens are dismayed at them." You know, we have to get out of this whole thing with this following these heathens, going after the ways of the heathens, trying to be like the heathens. You know, and that's our problem. We've become, well, I mean, this captivity has done a job on us, brothers. It's just this Christianity has done a job on us, and we still see the effects of it. And you know, this very day is crazy, mind-boggling. All right, let's go to Proverbs chapter 29, and let's look at verse 2. Proverbs 29 and verse 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. So, because it's coming a time, Zion. So don't get discouraged. It's going to come a time where the Most High is going to put us back in authority. But we got to go through some things first. You know? It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So what's happening right now? We're at the complete bottom. We have to go to our enemies for everything. All right, so let me prove it to you. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, and let's look at verse 48. And it says, therefore shall you, it's talking about us, Zion, his chosen people, therefore shall you serve your enemies, which Yahuwah shall send against you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. Where do we spend all our money at? At the heathens' stores, malls, gas stations? Because we're in a situation, since we don't have our own, we have no other choice but to go to them in the want of all things. Because our forefathers failed to obey the Most High, we could have had our own stuff. But look where we're at. And that's what happened. And it says, and in the want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon your neck until he have destroyed you. Now, when those yokes of iron came off Zion, our people were just completely dead, destroyed, identity stricken. Let's look at verse 29. And it says, Yahuwah shall bring a nation against you from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies. A nation whose tongue you shall not understand. Verse 50. A nation of fierce consonants, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And you know, that verse hit its mark because even, you know, I spent my time growing up in Mississippi during the summers. I spent my summers growing up in Mississippi. And I don't care how old you were, what kind of education you had, as a black man, you were still considered as a boy or a nigger. You know, that's the way it is in the South. That how they treat us out there. And so when this scripture says they would have no regard for the old or for the young, that is true. And still to this day, these nations hate us, Zion. But we just, for some reason, we can't get it out of our minds. And we're trying to cling to them and trying to get them to love us. And that has not worked since 2,000 years since we left Jerusalem. So what makes you think that it's going to work now? And see, that's why we gotta get out that mindset and put our faith and trust in the Most High and come together as a people. At least the ones who are like-minded and who want to come together. All right, so let's go to Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 31. And it says, envy not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. So when you hear our people saying, oh, I wish I had what they had. I want that kind of car. I wish I had this. I want this bigger house like the heathens got. The Bible was clear. It says, envy not the oppressor. And then it goes on to say, and choose none of his ways. And you see, Zion, we cannot be rich in faith. We cannot be rich in faith or in the spirit as long as we're continuing to follow the ways of the heathens and envying the oppressor and choosing all of his ways. The word of the Most High is very clear. It says, envy not the oppressor and choose none of his ways. It didn't say some of his ways. It didn't say choose like a buffet, pick and choose what you want and then leave the rest out. No, it says none of his ways. Choose none of his ways. It's too simple, Zion. But we're breaking every command that the Most High has given us. So he says, okay, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let my people do their own thing. I'm going to let them do that. I'm going to let them do them. And they're going to have to come to a harsh conclusion. It's not going to be pretty, but I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let them do their thing. Because Zion, at some point of time, you're going to get so tired. You're going to get so tired that you're going to be forced to do something. You're going to be forced to get off your rear ends and do something because, we can't continue on like this, to continue to disobey the Most High and his word and expect that we're going to be blessed. It's not going to happen. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to Revelation chapter 3 and let's look at verse 18. So I counsel you to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that you may be rich. And we saw some precepts with that. Got to be rich in faith, Zion. But the only way we're going to get that is work out our salvation with fear and trembling and studying this word. And says, and white remnant, that you may be clothed, and that the shame of your nakedness do not appear. All right, so let's look at that one for a little bit. That you may be clothed, and that the shame of your nakedness do not appear. So let's get some precepts for that. And we're going to go back all the way to the very beginning. All right, let's go ahead and turn to the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 5. And it says, for Elohim knows that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. And this is very interesting because this verse right here tells me that even before Adam and Eve sinned, even before the world was created, evil existed. And, when Adam and Eve disobeyed, and after they took part of that knowledge, that fruit of knowledge, they became aware. But it was that disobedience that got them kicked out. But see, I believe that the Most High would have in due time revealed to them the secrets of this evilness, of this evil, this good and evil. But they just wasn't ready for it. They had to pass the first test. So let's go to Genesis 3:8 through 11. And it says, and they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his woman hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim amongst the trees of the garden. Now, why would they hide themselves? Because they knew what they did was wrong. They knew that they broke the Most High's commandment. Do not take part of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It was a simple command. Just like today, we are given simple commands in His Word, but we still deviate from it. All right, let's continue on. And it says, and Yahuwah Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, where are you? And it's not like the Most High didn't know where Adam was. He was testing Adam and said unto him, where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked. Now, when you look at this picture, and I'm a very visual person, and I vision things that most people don't really see, and I can just see the presence shrouded around them before they sinned. The presence of the Most High is such a glorious presence. It could have been a lighting presence, I don't know, but it was a presence that just defined beauty. But when they disobeyed, that presence disappeared, and they became bare. And Adam and Eve knew that presence was gone immediately, and they were ashamed to face the Most High, because the Bible says that they heard the voice of the Most High walking in the garden in the cool of the day. So that means that was a normal thing for that to happen. Then it goes on to say, and I hid myself. And he said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat? They knew what they did. They knew what they did was wrong. And immediately they lost that presence. They lost that connection with the Most High. So they were ashamed. Just like a child would do if they would disobey their parents. It would be that shame. They know they did wrong, so they have that shame on them. But this shame was such a great shame that, it was undescribable, because they know they messed up. They know they messed up big time. It's a shame. Something so simple as to obey a command like this, to break it, and to cause thousands of years, over 6,000 years of agony with our people, being a total shame. All right, let's jump down to Genesis 3 and verse 22. And it says, and Yahuwah Elohim said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. And see, this is why the Most High told them not to do that, because now, with them being access to this evil immaturely, this knowledge of evil immaturely, they could do all kinds of things. And see, they wasn't ready for that. There was a time that the Most High was going to reveal that to them. They just wasn't ready for it. And that's our problem today. We want to jump too quickly into things when the Most High did not give us authorization to do such things. And so they had to pay the price, a heavy price, for one commandment, one command. Do not take part of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Don't do it. But they did it. And now we have to suffer the consequences. And that's why I'm saying, being tried in the fire and everything, the Most High is trying to get us to a point to bring us back to where we should have been. The Most High has been constantly restoring his people. So let's look at the next one, verse 20. Let's look at 3:21. And it says, unto Adam also and to his woman did Yahuwah Elohim make coats of skins and clothe them. Now I want to bring out a point, because remember, we read in Revelation 3:18, remember, it says and that ye may be clothed, and that the shame of your nakedness do not appear. And when the Most High made these coats of skin and clothed them, something had to die. Think about it. Where did the Most High get these coats of skin at? Something had to die to get those coats of skin, which right there prophesies that we were going to have a mediator, a priest that was going to be sent to atone for our sins. It's right here, Zion. You cannot deny it. We cannot get away from this because we messed up. Our first parents messed up. And we lost that direct connection. Now we have to have a mediator. But you got a bunch of Hebrews that want to skip the mediator and go straight to Elohim. It's not going to work that way. You can't skip the gate. There's no way that you can go around to the inner court without coming to the gate first. It's impossible. You can't do it, or you will not take part in the kingdom. All right, let's go to Jubilees. Jubilees chapter 3 and verse 27. It says the same thing, but there's a little more detail. And it says, and he made for them coats of skin and clothed them and sent them forth from the Garden of Eden. See, the Most High don't play. You cannot sin. You cannot be wicked and continue in righteousness. You can't do it. So the Most High was not going to allow them to continue to be wicked and to continue to be in the Garden of Eden. Won't mix. And that's why the Bible says that wickedness will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to Revelation chapter 3. And let's look at the last part. And it says, and anoint your eyes with eyesalve, that ye may see. Well, how come we have not been seeing all this time? Because we've been blinded by Christianity. We've been seeing the Bible through the eyes of the heathens, the way they want us to see the word of the Most High. I mean, it's a mess, Zion. And now we're having to unplug slowly from all this stuff, all these abominations that was put upon us. The Most High was serious when he said that he would send us to a nation and we would worship these people. We would worship these people's Elohims in wood and stone. Let me prove it to you. Let's get some precepts for that. So let's go to Deuteronomy 4 and 27 and 28. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 27 through 28. And it says, and Yahuwah shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahuwah shall lead you. And there ye shall serve Elohim, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. This is nothing to play with, Zion. This is what happened because of the disobedience of our forefathers. But if you don't believe that, let me show you some more precepts. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, and let's look at verse 36. Deuteronomy 28 and 36. It says, Yahuwah shall bring you and your king, which you shall set over you, unto a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there shall you serve other Elohim, wood and stone. What is all these symbols we worship over here? The cross, the Quran, all these religious symbols, the fish, all that stuff. You see all these images. All right, so in the same chapter, Deuteronomy chapter 28, let's jump down to verse 64. And it says, and Yahuwah shall scatter you among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there you shall serve other Elohims, which neither you nor your fathers have known, even wood and stone. And this is throughout the whole Bible, what our forefathers did. It was like they kept repeating it. Captivity after captivity. They kept repeating it, going after these nations. And see, that's what put us in captivity in the first place. It was mixing. And I say mixing because they wanted to blend with the other nations. They wanted to integrate with the other nations and be like them and serve their gods and marry their women. What are we doing today in this current time? The same thing. Nothing new under the sun. Let's get another one. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 17. And it says, and ye have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them. Our people love to worship idols. They love to serve and blend with other nations. I don't know what it is, but yet the Most High still considers us the apple of his eye. And that blows my mind away. We should all be destroyed as a people. We really should, Zion. We shouldn't even be here. All right, so let's go to Jubilees. Jubilees chapter 22 and verse 18. Jubilees chapter 22 and verse 18. And it says, they have no heart to understand, and their eyes do not see what their works are, and how they err in saying to a piece of wood, you are my Elohim, and to a stone, you are my Adonai, and you are my deliverer. And they have no heart. That's crazy, Zion, to believe that our people were caught up in this stuff, worshiping images that can't smell, hear, no feelings, no heart, just a piece of material. And our people bound down worshiping that stuff. That is insane. All right, let's go to the book of Enoch. The book of Enoch, chapter 98 and verse 8. And it says, they shall worship stones and engrave golden, silver, and wooden images. This is what they're doing. Our people, our so-called chosen people. And it goes on to say, they shall worship impure Ruachs, devils, and every idol, in temples, but no help shall be obtained for them. Their hearts shall become impious through their folly. Y'all hear that? Through their folly. And their eyes be blinded with the fear of their hands. And their visionary dreams shall be impious and superstitious, lying in all their actions, and worshiping a stone. Altogether shall they perish. And what's happening to our people right now? Our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And our people are going to die in all these religions, worshiping these wood and stone and calling upon these idols, these images, these nations' gods. That's where we are, Zion. It's a sad sight to see, but it is what it is. I didn't write the scriptures. And the Bible says that our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. All right, let's go to the book of Jasher. Jasher chapter 2 and verse 4. And it says, and the sons of men went and they served other Elohims, and they forgot Yahuwah, who had created them in the earth. And in those days the sons of men made images of brass and iron, wood and stone, and they bowed down and served them. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, we see this time after time. Our people keep repeating the same mistakes. When are we going to ever learn? When are we going to ever learn to turn from our wicked ways and come out of these heathen nations spiritually, unplug ourselves and separate from them, and bring ourselves to worship the Most High Yah, the true and living Elohim? All right, let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 32. And it goes on to say, and that which comes into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathens. Y'all hear that? We will be as the heathens. What are our people doing right now? They want to be like the heathens. We will be as the heathens, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone. See, this is something that our people have been struggling with from the beginning. From the beginning, ever since Adam and Eve messed up. And all this time we've been going through this cycle over and over. And you would think that we would have learned after over 6,000 years. And even today, this current time, our people is even worse than ever. Mixing is worse than ever. Our people are just so engraft. And that's why it seems like it's a lost cause for our people. You know, but for the ones who truly love the Most High, we're going to get our acts together. And we're going to straighten up and fly right. Because I'm telling you, Zion, you know, this is the last captivity. There's not going to be any more captivities after this. This is it. This captivity is very unique. It's the only captivity where we're scattered to the four corners of the earth. Never before have we been scattered and separated like this. All the previous captivities were together, you know, but not this one. All right, so let's go to Habakkuk 2:19. Some people pronounce it Habakkuk. It says, woe, 2:19. It says, woe unto him that says to the wood, awake, to the dumb stone, arise, it shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. You know, when I read stuff like this, I have to just shake my head. What is wrong with our people? You know, why do our people just folly in senseless things such as this and not even understand what's going on? You know, and that's why so many people that are caught up in Hollywood as well as Christianity, they just so blinded, you know, so blinded. And I don't know what it's going to take to snap our people out of this. I really don't. And, you know, it's just sad that many of our people are going to have to be destroyed. And, you know, I know we keep hearing this time after time, but Zion, this thing is real. And this thing is no joke. Either we're going to have to get on board or we're going to be destroyed. There's no other way. There's just no other way around it. You know, it's crazy, Zion, because our people kept going into captivity because they kept breaking the first commandment. Let's go to Exodus chapter 20. And let's start with verse 3. And it says, you shall not have no other Elohim before me. Y'all hear that? You shall not have no other Elohim before me. You shall not make unto you any graven images, or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourselves to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, Elohaka, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and guard my commandments. This is too easy. And what did we just read? We read everything that our forefathers were doing with these images, bowing down to them, worshiping and serving them, and mixing with the other nations. You know, that wasn't supposed to be. There was a reason why the Most High set us apart. But our wicked forefathers wanted to be like the other nations. So therefore, the Most High brought us lower than the other nations. And that's exactly where we are right now. We're lower than the other nations until we get our acts together so that the Most High can put us back where we belong. But see, we got to deny all this stuff. Got to deny all these pagan idols. Unplug from this system to get back to Yahuwah. All right, so let's go back to Revelation chapter 3 and verse 18. Let's look at that last part. It says, and anoint your eyes with eyesalve, that you may see. So we just realized that the reason why we could not see because we were still and pretty much still under majority of the curses today. So we had to turn from these idols, come out of this Babylonian system of paganism, and turn to the Most High so that we can see. And now that we're waking up, we're beginning to see now. We're beginning to see the big picture and what the Most High is planning for His people. And we're getting back to His Torah, and we're starting to awaken out of this deep sleep we've been in, this deep depression, this psychological damage that's been brought upon us. You know, so now we have to grow, and little by little, as we become more keen with the word of the Most High, our lifestyles are going to change as well too. So now we're going to begin to see, but there's still some more things we have to do because, you know, it is the Ruach that gives us understanding of His word. And so we have to be anointed by the Holy Spirit. See, it's easy. Anyone can stand on the street corners and just throw out and quote and spit scriptures out. But if you don't have the Ruach, you have nothing, Zion. You have nothing. I don't care how much you study this word, how much scripture you know, how long you've been in this truth, if you're a third generation, whatever. If you don't have the Ruach, you don't have nothing. Nothing. So let's get some precepts to back this up. All right, so let's go to John chapter 6 and verse 63. John 6:63. And it says, "It is the Ruach that quickens. The flesh profits nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are Ruach and they are life." And you see, it is the Spirit, it is the Ruach of the Most High that is awakening his people up all over the world. And this is something that we cannot deny. We cannot deny the power of the Spirit of Yah. And see, that's why Moshe, Elijah, and Hamashiach were able to fast for 40 days, because they were such at a high spiritual level that when they got past those certain days, it was that Ruach it was the Ruach of the Most High that was sustaining them, all that energy. And that's the power of fasting. And so, when you think about it in terms of the Ruach, you cannot understand this word without the guidance of the Ruach. You can't. It's impossible, Zion. Because see, even the most scholared brothers and sisters who know the word, you still have to be guided by the Ruach to have understanding. I mean, complete understanding. And that's why you see a lot of people who preach this word, but they have no power with it. There's no power behind it. It's because they don't have the Spirit. They don't have the Ruach to push that through them. And that's why we have to constantly humble ourselves and come with our cups empty and not full. And that's the problem. Too many Hebrews come with a full cup because they know more than the Most High. They know more than Yah. And therefore, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach, cannot work with them, cannot dwell in them, because they're full of folly, they're full of abominations, and they're full of self-righteousness. They're full of themselves. Think they know everything. And that's the thing, Zion. We got to come to the Most High with empty cups so that the Most High can fill it with his Ruach. All right, so let's go to John chapter 14, and let's look at verse 26. And it says, "But the Comforter, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things." Let me read that part again. "He shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you." So his word. So I said earlier that the only way that we're going to get this word in our hearts is that we're going to have to constantly rehearse and rehearse, study. And with the guidance of the Ruach, he will put it in our hearts. We'll never forget it. We'll never depart from it. The only way that we'll depart from it is that we turn from the Most High and turn to wickedness. And I know that we don't want to keep making the same mistakes as our forefathers. So we got to either go forward or we got to get out this thing, Zion. And now the Ruach of the Most High has anointed our eyes so that we may see, and even see past beyond our forefathers, because they kept messing up. They kept serving other idols, So it's like the Most High has given us even greater eyes to see with. He had to break us down. He had to tear us completely down, strip us of everything, our identity, our language, our heritage, and then he's slowly rebuilding us back up. I see it, Zion, so we don't make the same mistakes that our forefathers made. And everything that the Most High does is perfect, And some people try to say, well, if everything was perfect, then why did we mess up? Why did his chosen people mess up? Well, the Most High, everything he does is perfect. And, he just makes corrections. And, throughout the generations that we see throughout the scriptures, he has made corrections. But everything that he's done has been perfect. And so now the Most High is building us back up slowly but surely. He is restoring us back to that first, or to that original what Adam should have been before they sinned. It's just a shame, Zion, that it's had to take over 6,000 years to even bring us to this point. But it is what it is, and this is where we at. All right, so let's go back over to 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 73. I just want to elaborate on this a little more. So it says, then shall they be known who are my chosen. So how do we know that we're chosen? Well, we know through the curses of Deuteronomy 28 and all throughout the Bible. No other race of people fit these curses. No other race of people fit those curses. So that's how we know. And also, you can look up references outside of the scriptures, like when you look up, when you trace your family's tree, because any so-called blacks who are in America are descendants of slaves. If you have an American name, you are more likely a descendant of Hebrews. And so, and the heathens, they record everything. And I always say this, they don't hide anything, even lies and the truth. They keep records of everything. So if you look up these slave voyagers and you type in Hebrew names, you'll see that our forefathers had Hebrew names before they came over here. So, that's how you just got to do the research. You just got to dig for it. Then you'll see it. It's right there. Nothing is hidden. And then if you read on, it goes on to say, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in fire. Now we're going to look at this a little more closely because we got to make it clear that as a chosen people of Yah, his elect, that we're going to have to be tested, Zion. We're going to have to be tried. But that's only for our good, because that's going to purify us. That's going to make us whole. So when that is complete, then the Most High is going to pour his power upon his elect in these last days. But this has to happen first. You cannot skip this portion. We cannot skip being tried in the fire. We cannot skip that, Zion, and then think we're going to just take part into the kingdom. We're going to have to be tested, tried, and molded. And when the Most High gets us to where he wants us, then he's going to unleash his power upon his elect, his chosen, the 1/3 that he's going to choose and take through the fire. And I'm going to show you some precepts for that as well. All right, so let's go to 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 7. And let's look at that. It says that the trial of your faith or your belief, being much more precious than of gold that perishes, though it be tried with fire. You hear that? Though it be tried with fire. We are that gold, his elect, chosen. And then it goes on to say, might be found unto praises and honor and glory at the appearing of Yahuwah HaMashiach. That it might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Yahushua HaMashiach. I'm telling you, Zion, there's some things that the Most High wants to do with us, but we got to get ready. He has to prepare us. He's going to have to take us through some things. And so let's look at 1 Peter chapter 4 and verses 12 through 13. And it goes on to say, Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you, but rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of Mashiach's. And see, this is what we got to go through, because look, you look what Mashiach went through, the second Adam, and what he had to go through. And, we can count it a blessing to go through similar things, not exactly the same things that HaMashiach went through, but similar. But we're going to be tested and tried. All right. And then it goes on to say that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. And so that instant, that power that the Most High wants to bestow upon us is going to come with a price, because he's just not going to bestow power upon anyone, Zion. No, that's not going to happen. We have to be in a certain mindset, and we have to be willing to receive that and to be able to go through what the Most High is going to take us through. So Zion, all this confusion that we're seeing in Israel right now, people got their own little congregations, and They got their own little doctrines and what have you. They charging money and all that kind of stuff. And it's a big mess right now. You ain't got to worry about that because you know why? The Most High is going to auto-correct all that stuff. And when this economy shuts down and when people cannot really get paid and these ministries cannot get paid, they cannot be supported, I'm telling you, you're going to see who are really real and you're going to see who are really fake. And, the test is coming. We're going to see who's going to be about that paper or who's going to be about that walk, like I said earlier. So let's look at Proverbs chapter 3 and 11 through 12. And it says, "My son, despise not the chastening of Yahuwah, neither be weary of his correction. For whom Yahuwah loves, he corrects." Why do you think we've been going through all this captivity and stuff? It says, "Even as a father, the son in whom he delights." And so, we are his children. We are his chosen. So, yes, it's going to seem like we're going through a lot because we're going to be, we're going to be set to high standards and we're going to be put back in our rightful place. But in order for the Most High to do that, he's going to have to take us through the fire to mold us. And it's only for our own good. So don't take it personal. Take it as a blessing. Take it as worthy of being chosen to go through this. All right. So let's go ahead and go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 13. And it says, "Every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire. And the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is." And see, that's why I keep telling you, Zion, that it's going to come a time where the true test is going to come, whether we're real or whether we're fake. It's going to come. Right now, all this stuff that's going on in Zion, okay, we're going to see where it goes. We're going to see where it goes because you're going to see the true remnant start to come out and start to show, and you're going to see the fake ones, the tares. You're going to start to notice them even more and more. And as time is getting closer to the end, we're starting to see that. So let's go to Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 9. And it goes on to say, "And I will bring," and this verse, I want you to pay attention to this verse because this verse is very important. And I wanted to say this one so I can bring out something. And it says, "And I will bring the third part through the fire." And, and it's talking about his chosen, his elect. And this right here tells me that, there's going to be a lot of our people that are not going to make it, Zion. A lot of our people who are caught up in Christianity and all this stuff, they're not going to make it. He says, "And I will bring the third part through the fire and will refine them as silver is refined and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name and I will hear them." And what's happening right now, and we're starting to come into the beginning stages of this, but it's going to get more intense, Zion. I'm telling you, we're going to see more of our people slaughtered, discriminated against, everything from A to Z. And then it goes on to say, "I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahuwah Elohei." So for the time being, we got to continue to work out our salvation with fear and trembling and put our full trust in the Most High. Because we're entering into a great falling away, Zion, within our own people. And we're starting to see it more and more. I mean, look at here, Zion. We get it. We know that we're living in the last days. I mean, literally in the last seconds. And we don't know how much longer this world is going to go on before everything breaks. And what we need to be really worrying about, Zion, are we doing everything that we need to do in order to please the Most High? Are we working out our salvation with fear and trembling? Are we preparing ourselves to receive the kingdom? Those are the questions we got to ask ourselves. You can be concerned. You can focus on the wins and date settings and all that stuff. None of that's going to matter if you're not ready to receive the Most High. And, and we can look all around us. We know that these things are going on. There's so much stuff that's happening. They're not putting it in the news. We just had this major storm system that hit the Midwest, and I think in one day they had like over so many tornadoes, 150. I don't know. It was like, I think it was that many, but I mean, it was a bunch of tornadoes that just hit at one time, and that's not including all the other times, during this storm system that came through. Massive floodings everywhere, massive sinkholes happening everywhere. And I'm gonna tell you something, Zion. That it's been reported that this has been the wettest. This has been the wettest and most rainiest season in U.S. history. And I'm gonna tell you that's gonna lead to a lot of other things, because it's gonna lead to extreme heat. It's gonna lead to extreme dry weather. That means it's gonna be more intense fires. I mean, we're gonna see an all-time high of drug overdoses amongst the heathens, and suicide rates are rising, pestilence, plagues, all kind of stuff. It's happening so increasingly. It's getting faster and faster, and every year that goes by, it's like it's becoming more and more intense, and it's like every year there's new record-breaking storms and fires and what have you. And they just recently had these fires in Israel. Now, some of y'all act like that's a new thing. I'm gonna tell you something. They've been having fires for the last 20 years in Israel, and if you look up the 2016 fires, matter of fact, those fires were much worse than these 2019 fires. But see, you don't really hear about that kind of stuff, because they try to hide it, and so the elites or the powers that be, they have to make sure that the world believes that their God are protecting these old wicked Khazars that are over there claiming to be us. So, but it's going to get to a point where they can't hide nothing. And this whole war that's brewing up, Iran has been wanting to take Israel off the map for over 20 years now, for a very long time. And I mean, it's eventually it's going to come. The Most High is just right now. The Most High is just setting the pieces together, and He's orchestrating this right now. And so, with Trump being in office and his connection with the Zionists, those Khazars over there, the elites, the world elites, all of this stuff is really a political play right now. But you know what? The Most High is going to turn this thing into something else, just like He promised, and He will gather all the nations soon enough to battle, whenever that's going to be. And I truly believe that it's going to be in our lifetime, brothers and sisters. It's going to be in our generation. We're going to get an opportunity to be alive to see all this happening if Yah's willing. So that's why, it's worth the wait, Zion. It's worth being patient and waiting on the Most High. And so in the meantime, we have to get ourselves together. We have to find a way that we can contribute as far as ministry, things that we can do to help the cause, instead of just sitting back on the sidelines complaining. So many reports are coming out, and I'm telling you, record-breaking reports, and they're trying the best they can to try to hide all this stuff, And as we're seeing our people being more and more discriminated against, shot down, you name it, and that's the result of what our forefathers failed to do. Had we had our own stuff, had we had our own businesses, our own companies, we wouldn't have to worry about begging for jobs from our enemies. And like I said, it is what it is. And this is where we're at. We're at a point of no return. It's going to take a divine act of power. And that's exactly what's going to happen. The Most High is, He's just going to have to come and deliver us from this, because we can't. We're so far at the bottom right now. It's ridiculous, and we can't rise up from that, because the damage has been so great that we cannot. And that's why I said it's going to take an act of divine power to do it. Yeah, we can come together in little groups and spittles and here and there, but that's not going to really amount to anything if all our people are not on one accord. And that's why the Bible says that the Most High is going to take a third through the fire. that's the way it's gonna be, because majority of our people are gonna be destroyed. So he's gonna wrap up the elect, the few chosen, the remnant, take them through the fire, prepare us, and get us ready, so that he could bestow his power upon us, so he can deliver his people. And it's gonna be a done deal. So we just have to prepare ourselves and get ready. Because the Most High is getting ready to unleash hell, Zion. I mean, hell. And the Most High is not playing with these heathen nations. So I want you to write these scriptures down, because we're going to go over some scriptures right quick before we move on. So write down Isaiah chapter 34. Isaiah chapter 34 and verses 1 through 2. And let's look at that. It says, "Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Elohim is upon all nations." Y'all hear that? Not upon some nations, upon all nations. "And his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter." And this is past and future. But more so future, because I'm telling you, this thing is getting ready to rear up. And the Most High is getting ready to throw down. And let's go to Nahum. Nahum chapter 1 and verses 3 through 4. And it goes on to say, "Elohim is slow to anger and great in power, and will not all acquit the wicked." In other words, they ain't getting away with nothing. I don't care how many apologies they try to make, what they try to do, how much money they try to give for the cause. The Most High will not acquit the wicked. And it says, "Yahuwah hath his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. He rebuketh the sea and maketh it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. Bashan languisheth, and Carmel and the flower of Lebanon languisheth." What's been happening lately, all these increase in storm patterns, it's getting more and more intense, and we ain't seen nothing yet. Let's go to Micah. Micah chapter 5 and verse 15. And it says, "And I will execute vengeance and anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard." Y'all hear that? Such as they have not heard. So that means that all the time that people have been on this earth, we're going to see such vengeance, such destructions that has not been seen since man has been on this earth. And that's going to be crazy. That is going to be crazy. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 30 and verse 3. And it says, "For the day is near, even the day of Yahuwah is near, a cloudy day. It shall be the time of the heathens." Now, we're starting to see the beginning stages of that right now, with all the things that are going on around the world. And why is it going on around the world instead of just one place? Because our people are scattered to the four corners, and we are amongst the heathens wherever we're scattered to. I mean, it's going to be devastating. All right, let's go to Luke. Luke chapter 6 and verse 23. It says, "Rejoice ye in that day, and leap for joy. For behold, your reward is great in heaven. For the like manner did their fathers unto the prophets." So the Most High wants to, I'm telling you, the Most High fights for his people. It may not seem like it right now. It may seem like we're just being devastated, we're being stomped upon. But like I said earlier, it only seems like that on the surface. But see, deep down, the Most High is working his miracles through his people. And, you got heathens that love to try to debunk who we are, because what they do. The first thing they do is when they try to debunk us, they go and pick these bottom of the barrel camps. I mean, these raggedy, hobo-looking camps, spewing all kind of abominations out their mouths, and they pick them. See there? Those are the Israelites. Well, I'm going to tell you something. They don't represent the Most High. They don't represent the Most High's people either. And so, You can't look at that, Zion. We got to go with what the word says. All right, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 25 and verse 17. Ezekiel 25 and verse 17. And it says, "And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes. And they shall know that I am Elohim when I shall lay my vengeance upon them." So what we're seeing right now, this is nothing. All these little storm patterns that are increasing, because see, the heathens, they still don't quite believe yet. They still don't quite know what's happening. But the Most High is going to make it so plain and so clear as day that they're going to know that the Most High is fighting for his people. They're going to know. And I want you to keep an eye on Israel, Zion, because see, this whole thing with Israel that's going on right now with those Khazars, their cover is getting ready to be snatched from them, right off of them. And they're going to be revealed for the devils that they truly are, like the Bible says, the synagogue of Satan. But everything is coming together, and I'm so excited about it too, because it's just a matter of time. And every day that goes by brings us closer and closer to the day of Yahuwah. All right, let's go to Ezekiel, same chapter, Ezekiel 25 and verse 14. And it says, "I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to my anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith Elohim." Read that again. "And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel." So what does that verse mean by that? Well, those of us who are proclaiming this message, who are quoting these scriptures, saying what's going to happen through the scriptures, what's going to happen to these heathen nations, the Most High has given us power to reveal those things, and that's what's going to happen. So the Most High is using us to give the warning of what's going to happen to these heathen nations. And they're laughing at us right now. They're sitting back, "Oh, these old black niggas, they ain't gonna do nothing. They just looking for an identity. They just have an identity crisis." They love to say that and everything. But you just wait. You just wait. The hammer's gonna drop, and you're gonna see the real deal. And you're gonna be trying to hide in caves and in the crevices of the rocks, and you're gonna be asking the rocks to fall on you, because you don't want to bow down to a so-called descendant of slaves, a Hebrew descendants of slaves. So you're going to try everything. They're going to try everything they can to try to deny this. All right, let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 30, and let's look at verse 11. Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 11. It says, "For I am with thee, saith Elohim, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whether I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished." So what's happened? We talked about the going through the fire earlier. It's to help correct us, it's to help purify us, to take out all the impurities that is in us, Zion, because we've been so much brainwashed by Christianity and all this religion that we got to go through this to purify us. And that's why, I recommend no Hebrew start any kind of congregation until you've been out of Christianity and this religious mess for over 10 years, because, so many of our people, it's like they're starting these congregations, but they're turning right back to Christianity again. It's like they're defaulting back to what they came out of. It's sad. It really is. And so, and we spent all these years being brainwashed, and now it's like we're going backwards, going right into the thing, getting back into the tithing system, but not calling it tithing though. But it's starting to become about money now, and it's sickening and it's sad. But the Most High is getting ready to break all that mess up, and when that economy crashes and fails, we're gonna see who are really dedicated to the Most High and His people, and who are not. Especially when that paper ain't coming in. Oh man, I gotta feed my family, and we're gonna see who's real. And one thing I have a problem with our people who are, just caught up with, who are sleeping and selling drugs to our people And I despise that kind of stuff. I despise any Hebrews that take advantage of their people in any kind of form or fashion, and it's just crazy, Zion. And the Most High does not take that lightly, So we're all gonna have to answer for that stuff, Well, I gotta feed my family, so drugs is the only thing I can do. Well, you tell that to the Most High when He comes back. All right, so let's go to Ezekiel 7:25. Ezekiel 7:25. Let's look at that. And it says, destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. And so, these heathens, they know that something's happened. They can't quite figure it out yet. They still blaming it on these weather systems, whatever they call it, satellites that create these kind of weathers and stuff. There's a name for it, but I can't think of it right now. But they're going to find out soon enough that it has nothing to do with that. This is the power of the Most High that's bringing destruction down on these heathen nations. But it's going to increase more and more, and they're not going to be able to escape it. And a lot of these people are looking for peace. They're trying to find peace, but they realize that everything that they thought was the great American dream, the great white privilege, is coming to an abrupt end. And that's why you see the suicide rates going up. People losing jobs, and the cost of living is going up more and more faster than what the pay is, and people can't afford anything. It's like here in California, it is highway robbery out here in California, and it's ridiculously expensive out here. So and get prepared because it's only going to get worse. All right, let's go to Zechariah. Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8. Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8. And let's see what that says. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Elohim, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. We read this earlier, that the Most High is going to take a third part through the fire. Remember that, Zion? A third part. So there's going to be a lot of people that's going to die, Zion. And unfortunately, a lot of our people who are clinging to these heathen nations, they're going to die. They are going to die. And that's just the bottom line. But He's going to preserve the third. This is Ezekiel. This is Zechariah 13:8. He's going to preserve. He says, but the third shall be left therein. And when you read the next verse, verse 9, then you'll see the third is going to go through the fire. This is some amazing stuff, Zion. This is very amazing, because I know it's frustrating. I know it's depressing seeing our family members hear this truth, but they not accept it, And I know that can be mind-boggling. But, we're just going to have to accept what the word of the Most High says. And the only thing we can do now is just we can just pray for them, and that's it. You can't force them. You can't beat them. You can't beat it upside their heads, because, they're going to make their choices regardless of what you say. And it can be the straight up truth, but, they have to open their hearts up to the Ruach. So let's go to Luke chapter 21 and verse 26. Luke chapter 21 and verse 26. It says, men's heart failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And this is twofold, because it's not only talking about these world leaders, the powers of heaven, because heaven represents rulership, but also the physical earth as well. Look at all the stuff that's happening right now. Look at all the shakeup with these leaders, these world leaders that are happening. Men's heart failing them for fear. The heathens are becoming afraid because they feel like there's no more future. They're all there. Everything that they've ever known is coming to an end, and so they're scared. They're going crazy, and out of that, they're lashing out at Yah's chosen people, because they have no other way out. And now all these heathens, they went out and bought all these guns when Obama became president, all that stuff. And you know what? They're going to use them guns on themselves. That's what's going to happen. They're going to use those guns on themselves. Because that's the way the Most High is going to have it fixed up. Thinking that they're going to come and try to start a race war with us. That ain't going to happen. All right, so let's go to Zephaniah this time. Zephaniah chapter 1 and verses 14 through 16. And please make sure, brothers and sisters, you write these scriptures down. And you can always stop the video and go back and just review. So, and it says, you have Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 14 through 16. And it says, the great day of Yahuwah is near. It is near and hasten it greatly. Even the voice of the day of Yahuwah, the mighty man, shall cry there bitterly, that the day is a day of wrath. You hear that, Zion? A day of wrath. A day of trouble and distress. A day of wastedness and desolation. A day of darkness and gloominess. Who's it going to be a gloominess for us? The heathens. The Bible already made it clear that he's going to bring down wrath upon all the nations. It says a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And y'all notice that there's been an increasingly wickedness, like the wickedness of a wicked spirit that's been just creeping over these heathen nations and our people who are clinging to them. And people are getting worse and worse, Zion. People are getting worse and worse. And our people keep going to these folks, begging for a morsel of bread, begging to be in their restaurants. You know, there was an incident that happened recently. There was a black couple who, I guess it was a camp. I guess it was some kind of campground in Mississippi, something like that. I'm going to play the video for you as well. But it was a campground in Mississippi. And this Hebrew couple decided that they wanted to check it out, maybe possibly rent a cabin or something there, but they were met with great disappointment. They got their wake-up call. Had we had our own campgrounds as Hebrews, had our own stuff, they wouldn't have to worry about this kind of stuff. See, and this is what I'm talking about, Zion. But we keep begging these people for their acceptance.
And that's when things took a turn for the worse.
She jumped out, and the gun was pointed at me, my husband, and our dog. It was just pointing at us. And one finger was on the trigger. The other finger was on the lever. On the lever of the revolver.
Richardson says that's when she pulled out her cell phone. The woman holding the gun identified herself as the property manager, but her choice of words were less than professional.
She was just like, get, you don't belong here, you don't belong here, you don't belong here.
Richardson says the confrontation was shocking.
Time stopped, everything stopped.
Yeah, I was confused with what was going on.
Right.
Because, we ain't like we were supposed to threaten anybody. We're out there walking our dog. There's nothing harmful about that.
The fact that she used get like we were a dog. You say get to a stray dog that's on your porch.
And Zion, I hate the fact that our people have to keep going through this because, see, a lot of y'all act surprised. It's 2019. Y'all be acting surprised like this ain't been happening. Like all of a sudden this has just started happening or something. Y'all better wake the hell up. This has been going on for a very long time. This is the thing that Malcolm X was talking about. Had we had our own, had we just obeyed the Most High, we would have our own campgrounds. We would have our own companies, our own stores, our own hair shops, everything. We would have our own stuff, and we wouldn't have to begging these people for a dime. Have our own banks. But no, we want to integrate, and we want to beg Massa to accept us and let us join with you. All right, Zion, you go right ahead and do that. You keep doing that, and you're going to see where it gets you. But like Malcolm X said, don't be complaining when you go on these people's property and they pull a gun on you and they don't want you on their property. They don't want to hire you. Because go blame our forefathers. Go blame them for selling out. And see, Zion, this is why I don't like to show stuff like this. Because you know why? Our people are still stupid. All right, so let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 38, 22. Ezekiel chapter 38, 22. And it goes on to say, and I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him, an overflowing rain and great hailstones, fire and brimstone. And all through the scriptures, we're going to see these kind of things being prophesied and what's going to be taking place in the near future. Let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 7. And many of y'all know this verse. Jeremiah is one of my favorites. Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 7. And it says, the lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy cities shall be laid waste without an inhabitant. Boy, this is in the near future, Zion, and we getting ready to see some miraculous things. Go read the last two books of Ezra, Second Ezra, and you're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, destruction like we've never seen before. All right, let's go to Obadiah. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 15. And it says, for the day of Yahuwah is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. So don't think that these people are going to get a free pass. Don't think that they're going to be acquitted. Don't think that they're going to just get off scot-free because their forefathers did this to us. No, they're going to answer. All of them are going to answer. All right, so let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 21. Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 21. And it goes on to say, and your eye shall not pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, and hand for hand, foot for foot. The Most High is not going to play. The Most High does not forget, Zion. He will avenge his people. He will avenge his people. We're not going to be able to do it because we don't have the power to do it. But the Most High is going to avenge his people. The thing we need to be doing is getting this gospel out, preparing ourselves for what's getting ready to come. All right, so let's go to 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 17. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 17. It says, for the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of Yahuwah. Now, Zion, don't think that we're not going to be judged either. Just because we're Hebrew descendants of slaves and we can't do wickedness, Zion. We cannot do wickedness and think that the Most High is going to acquit us or give us a free pass. We're going to have to turn from our wicked ways, and we're going to have to come unto the Most High and put aside all that foolishness. And so everything that we're seeing that's going on in Zion, I said earlier, the Most High is going to auto-correct it. And he has ways of auto-correcting things, Zion, I'm telling you. And that's why you don't have to worry about all this stuff. Don't let it bother you. Yeah, there's a lot of falsehood going on, people doing their own stuff and fleecing the flock, pimping the saints, selling their BS t-shirts and what have you, and whatever they're selling. But don't worry, the Most High is going to auto-correct all that stuff. And he's going to shut all that down and close their mouths at the same time. So it goes on to say, it says, for the time is come, and this is 1 Peter 4:17, for the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of Yahuwah, and if it first began at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel or the Basora of Yahuwah? So ain't nothing to play with, Zion. The Most High is no game to be played with. Okay? And we better get that straight So let's go to Ezekiel chapter 9. Ezekiel chapter 9, and let's look at 4 through 6. Ezekiel chapter 9, verses 4 through 6. Okay, and it says, and Yahuwah, and again, Zion, just stop the video if you need to get the verse. That's all. Ezekiel chapter 9, verses 4 through 6. And Yahuwah said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Yasharalim, and set a tab upon, or mark upon, the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in my hearing, go ye after him through the city, and smite, let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity, slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children. Oh, that's so mean. God can't kill little children. And it goes on to say, and women, but come not near any man upon whom the tab or the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. That means at his house, Zion. Those, us, he's talking about his people. We are the sanctuary, Zion. We are the church. And it says, then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. And this is going on constantly, Zion. I'm telling you, the Most High is putting a mark upon his chosen people. So when he sends that angel of death, it's going to be slaughter across the masses. It's going to be slaughter across the globe, to include our people that want to do wickedness. So, you know, we're not exempt either, Zion. Just because we're descendants of Hebrew slaves, we're not exempt. You know, we can't do wickedness. We can't return wickedness for wickedness. And, you know, the Most High is going to avenge his people. And he's going to do what he needs to do. And the whole world is going to know it. The whole world is going to be mind-boggled at it. Okay, so let's go to Luke. Luke chapter 1 and verses 70 through 71. And let's look at that. Luke chapter 1 and verses 70 through 71. And he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. So what has been this message ever since our forefathers fell? Deliverance, deliverance, deliverance. The Most High used the prophets to get this message out, and the Most High sends his angels to fulfill those prophecies, the words that Yahuwah speaks through his prophets. Read that again. As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. You know, because the Bible says that we're hated among all nations. This was Luke 1:170 and 71. We're hated among all nations. All these nations hate us, but our people keep trying to wrap their arms around them while getting slapped and hit in the face with bricks and stones. You know, still trying to get them to accept them. You know, it's not going to happen. You cannot force yourself upon nations that don't like you, Zion. When are you going to ever learn that? Whenever are you going to get that in your head, that you cannot force someone to love you, especially if they hate you? And our people are just sick in the head. All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 10 and verse 34. Matthew 10 and 34. It says, think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I am come not to send peace, but a sword. In other words, the Most High is not coming with roses and kisses, Zion, like many of our people believe in Christianity. That's not going to happen. The Most High is coming with fury. He's coming with destruction. And, you know, the Bible says that there's a time for everything. There's a time for singing. There's a time for war. There's a time to kill. Right now, it's not time for singing right now. It's the Most High is preparing for war. And he's getting ready to put it on these heathen nations. All right, so let's go to Luke. Luke chapter 12. Luke chapter 12 and verse 51. It says, suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth. I tell you, nay, but rather division. Why do you know, and this a precept to that are the wheats and the tares. The wheats and the tares shall grow together into harvest time. It's almost harvest time, Zion. So don't think that, I talk about Hebrews coming together. And when I say that, I'm talking about like-minded Hebrews, brothers and sisters, that are led by that are truly led by the Ruach. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying Hebrews in that like manner are going to come together. Because not all Hebrews are going to come together, okay? There's too much confusion right now. There's too much false doctrine. There's too much. There's too many devils that are impersonators in this awakening, Zion. And that's the way it is. The Bible said that was going to happen. And even Judas played a part during his day. And we have our Judases today. Those who will sell us out in a heartbeat, even within Zion. We have our Judases. And Satan even has a part to play, Zion. Somebody has to be the scapegoat. Somebody has to take on all the sins and be cast out forever. So, don't get it twisted, and we just got to make sure that we're not a part of that. So we don't get cast out along with Satan. So let's go to Psalms 83, 1 through 5. And you all know this one. Psalms 83 and verses 1 through 5. And it says, keep not thou silence, O Yahuwah. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahuwah. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yasharel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And like I said, we're seeing all this stuff happening to our people, and then we're griping and complaining about it like it's just now happening. But yet, it's crazy. We complain, but we still fail to do nothing. We don't make an effort to try to start our own business or try to create something for our own people, for our own people to enjoy, so they don't have to keep begging from the heathens. But yet we just sit back, oh, that's terrible. Oh, that person's a racist. But then we ain't doing nothing. We just sitting there. And it's like we're getting slapped in the face and can't do anything about it. Yeah, you can do something about it, Zion. Stop supporting these heathens. That's what we can do. Stop giving them your money. Until that happens, our people are going to continue to spend billions of dollars for these pagan holidays every Christmas, and these old wicked holidays are coming up. And watch, our people are going to be at a record high, spending probably $5 billion this time on this wicked Christmas holidays. Our people just, man, it's a wonder that we're not all destroyed right now. All right, so let's go to, let's see here. All right, so let's go to Luke chapter 13. Luke chapter 13, I'm just going through my notes here because I have a lot of stuff, Zion. All right, Luke chapter 13, verses 26 through 28. It says, then shall ye begin to say, we have eaten and drunk in thy presence, and thou hast taught in our streets. But he shall say, I tell you, I know you not whence you are. Depart from me, all ye workers of iniquity. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth when ye shall see Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all the prophets in the kingdom of Yahuwah, and you yourselves thrust out. And see, and that's why y'all think I'm hard on these camps, and I'm really not, because the word of the Most High is very plain and simple. When you take your people and you give your heritage away, and you blaspheme the Most High's name, that's a serious thing. And you can know all these scriptures from front to back. I see these guys on the street corners, throwing out scriptures left and right. Even Satan knows the scriptures. But that ain't going to mean nothing, like I said earlier, if you don't have the Ruach, Zion. You cannot understand this word at all if you don't have the guidance of the Ruach upon you. You just can't. And I know how these cats operate, and it's not the people, the followers. They're just robots. They're just dummies. It's these leaders that know better, but yet they don't want to change because they're so proud in their hearts that they want to keep deceiving their followers. All right, so let me look at the next scripture here. So let's go to Exodus. Exodus chapter 23 and verse 22. Exodus chapter 23 and verse 22. And it says, "But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice, and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies, and an adversary unto thine adversaries." And see, Zion, is simple. All we have to do is just obey the Most High. I mean, why is that so hard for our people to just obey the words of the Most High? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because we want to do our own thing. We got our own agenda. But it's simple. I mean, it would be an honor and a blessing to be able to obey the Most High. Because he said that he will be an enemy. If we obey to do all that he asks, he will be an enemy unto our enemies. The Most High fights for us, brothers and sisters. We won't even have to lift a finger. Not even the hairs of our head will be touched. All right, so let's go to Job 9:24. Job 9:24. And it says, "The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" And this is why we don't need, like it says in Proverbs 3:31, we don't need to be envying the oppressor and choosing his ways, Zion. It says, choose none of his ways. So, this world is doomed. It's, this is, we're at the bottom. The heathens are ruling right now, but this is slowly being turned. But, we're still at the bottom. That doesn't change anything until the Most High comes back and destroys and takes this kingdom down by force and brings it all down. And so now we have to do the best we can because we don't have nothing we can call our own, except for the word of the Most High and what he has given us. And it's a shame that it's come down to that. We can't even have our own businesses now. We can't even enjoy that, the fruits of our hands because of our wickedness. All right, let's go to Psalms. Psalms chapter 55. And let's go to verse 19. That's what I want to go to. Psalms 55, verse 19. And it says, "Yahuwah shall hear and afflict them, even he that abideth of old, because they have no changes, therefore they fear not Elohim." These heathens don't care about our Elohim. They have no regard, no fear whatsoever. They're spiritless. They're empty. So, and it's just getting crazy and crazy, Zion. So let's go to second Esdras, chapter 6, and let's look at verses 7 through 9. Second Esdras, chapter 6, and verses 7 through 9. It says, "Then answered, and I said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth?" Verse 8, "And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau." 9, verse 9, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." So, we're starting, as we're waking up, and as the Most High is awakening his people, these curses, as we're getting back to the Torah, these curses are slowly, I said slowly, not quickly, but slowly falling off, and as the years go by, the Most High is going to make us even more stronger, more powerful, to the point where he's going to reveal us to the whole world. And it's going to happen just like that. You know? So let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 34 and verses 4 through 5. Isaiah 34 verses 4 through 5. And it says, "And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll." That sounds like a nuclear holocaust, Zion. The heavens shall roll together as a scroll. What kind of weapon, what kind of destruction that can make something do that? You know? And it says, "And all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Edom and upon the people of my curse to judgment." And that's crazy. The Most High is getting ready to drop the hammer. It's going to be hammer time. It's like that song, MC Hammer song, Hammer Time. It's going to happen. And that hammer going to drop. All right, so let's go to Psalms chapter 58 and verse 3. Psalms chapter 58 and verse 3. And it says, "The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born," speaking lies. Now, that's deep right there. It says, "The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born," speaking lies. So that means they born on this earth wicked. And that's crazy. That's Psalms 58:3. All right, so let's go to Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 25, verse 7. And I love this one. And that's Ecclesiasticus 25 and verse 7, or Sirach in your Apocrypha. It says, "There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue." It says, "A man that has joy of his children, and he that lives to see the fall of his enemies." And these are the enemies that oppress us, Zion. So yes, we are allowed to rejoice at the fall of our enemies. A man that has joy of his children, and he that lives to see the fall of his enemies. And I'm telling you, Zion, we're that generation that's going to see the destruction of our enemies. Now, it might not happen for the next 2 or 3 years or so, or even after that, but I truly believe that we are the generation that's going to see that. We're going to witness it with our own eyes. And we're already starting to see a lot of the things that are taking place right now, right before our very eyes. And I'm telling you, just pay attention to Israel, Zion, because things are getting ready to go down over there. You know, their slip has been showing since the early 70s. Their slip has been showing, Zion. It's getting shorter and shorter. All right. So, you know, we as a people, we got to prepare ourselves and get ourselves ready, Zion, because I mean these are some exciting times that we are living in. All right, so let's go to Enoch. Let's go to Enoch, chapter 62, verses 12 through 15. This is one of my many favorites. And it says, "All the kings, the princes, the exalted, and those who rule over all the earth shall fall down on their faces before him, and shall worship him. They shall fix their hopes on this son of Adam, shall pray to him and petition him for mercy. Then shall Yahuwah Sabaoth hasten to expel them from his presence. Their faces shall be full of confusion," because they're gonna be like, "Wait a minute, you know, I thought we were the people. I thought we were Christians. We were doing all these works and all this kind of stuff." And they're going to see that face. They're going to see as a black face. Boy, confusion is going to fall all over them. So then shall Yahuwah Sabaoth hasten to expel them from his presence. Their faces shall be full of confusion, and their faces shall darkness cover. The angels shall take them to punishment, that vengeance may be inflicted on those who have oppressed, for those who have oppressed his children and his elect, oppressed his children and his elect. And then it goes on to say, and they shall become an example to the Kodashim and to his elect. Through them shall these be made joyful. We're going to be made joyful. We read that in a similar verse, that we're going to be joyful, Zion, of the fall of our enemies. For the anger of Yahuwah Sevaoth shall rest upon them. Then the sword of Yahuwah Sevaoth shall be drunk with their blood, but the Kodashim and elect shall be safe in that city. And I truly believe that it's going to be the wilderness. Nor the face of the sinners and the wickedness shall they thenceforwards behold. The Most High is going to have us in a safe place, Zion, while he's destroying the wicked and while the wicked is destroying one another through nuclear holocaust. There's going to be total chaos all around us, but we're going to be safe. The Most High is going to keep us safe because his power is going to protect us. And that's going to be a joy. That's going to be a joyous moment, Zion, to see something like that, to be able to witness such great powers. All right, so let's go to Matthew because I want to get more detail what's going to happen with these wheats and the tares. Matthew chapter 13 and verses 40 through 43. And it says, as therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels. Y'all hear that? The Son of Man shall send forth his angels. That means that's going to be the angels of death. And they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend. All things that are offend. And them which do iniquity. And shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. You know, that's going to be a horrific sight to see something like that. All right, let's get another one. There's one. I'm trying to find it right now. It's one I wanted to show you. Let's see here. Nope, it's not Jubilees. Let's see, hold on for a minute. I think it's in Timothy, second. Yeah, okay, so go to 2 Timothy. Go to 2 Timothy chapter 2. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 19. That's what I'm looking for. Verse 19. And it says, nevertheless, the foundations of Yah stand sure, having this seal, Yahuwah knows them that are his. And let everyone that names the name of Yahuwah depart from iniquity. So that's what I want to show you. So the Most High knows who belongs to him, Zion. And I'm telling you, you know, the blessings are going to fall upon those. And the Most High is going to set that mark and that seal upon those of us, our foreheads, those of us who are truly in this walk, who are truly about this walk and not just talking it, Zion. And so, and like I said earlier, we're going to see the real is going to come out. You know, we're going to see who are the fakes and we're going to see who are truly real. We're going to see who's about this paper and we're going to see who's truly about sacrifice, you know, Zion, because only time will tell. Only time will tell. You know, you let YouTube shut down right now. You let YouTube shut down for like a year or something like that. Most of these Hebrews wouldn't even be able to survive because their whole ministry depends upon these social media. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, you know, and so that's why we're going to see where the real test comes in at. You know, we got to feed our families and things like that. We're going to see. And, you know, when you get into a certain situation, you know, I heard people say, well, I would never do that. You'd be surprised what you do when you're in that situation. I've known brothers who never said they would sell drugs, but end up selling drugs, you know, to feed their little children. You know, the pressure. And that's why we have to be real with the Most High. That's why we have to, Zion, trust in the Most High. That's important. I stress that all the time because if we lack any kind of trust in the Most High, then we're going to do stuff that we've never thought we would do before. Because when we practice our faith and we practice trusting in the Most High, we're going to depend totally upon the Most High, and we know he's going to always provide for us. And that's the best way I can explain it to you. So that's what we got to do. We got to really practice that and put that into work, Zion. Putting our faith in the Most High. I can't stress that enough. That is so important, because when this stuff hits the fan, what are you going to do? You can't feed your families. All of a sudden, the pressure is coming on. You got to do something. You're going to go out and do something stupid, or you're going to trust in the Most High. So, all right, Zion. So I want to spend some time on this one. Let's talk about fleeing versus waiting on the Most High. So this is what I want to do, because I'm going to show you some scriptures, and then you can make your own assessment from there. But, you have some Hebrews who believe that we're going to be the ones who are going to flee somewhere or go to a place maybe led by the Ruach. And then those of us who believe that waiting on the Most High, because he's the only one that's going to be able to bring us from out of these places that we're scattered, the nations that we're scattered to. So what we're going to do, Zion, is just explore the scriptures. Precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. And you can decide what is truth, because I want to show you that as far as us getting up or going to a particular place, that's going to be highly impossible. And I'm going to show you why. Just considering the situation we're in, in order for us to do that, this it's impossible, because we are scattered to the four corners of the earth. So it's going to take a divine intervention. It's going to take divine power to bring his people to a place, or as a place that we call the wilderness. Okay, so that's what I want to examine in the scriptures, so we can look at everything. We can look at how they left Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, and so forth. But I'm going to tell you, I want you to keep something in mind, though, Zion. This particular captivity that we're in is very unique. It's nothing like any captivity we've ever been in before. So I want you to just keep that in mind as we start to go through the scriptures and explore this. All right, Zion, so let's start off. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4, and let's look at verses 27 and 28. Now, some of these verses we reviewed earlier, but we're going to explore some more that we have not went over. And prayerfully, this is going to help open your eyes to a better understanding on how this whole process, how this whole thing is going to work, and how the Most High is going to gather his people. Because, see, that's very important. We need to understand that. And that's why so many people are confused over this matter. So let's look at verse 27, Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 27. And we're going to read verse 28 as well. And it says, "And Yahuwah shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathens, whither Yahuwah shall lead you." All right, now let's examine that for a minute. So it was the Most High who scattered us in the first place, right? Because of the sins of our forefathers. So we had no power over that. So I want you to make clear, okay? You got to understand that it wasn't us who decided to scatter. It was the Most High who scattered. Let me read that part again. "And Yahuwah shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathens, whither Yahuwah shall lead you." So it wasn't like Zion. We just all of a sudden decided to split up, and we all went our separate ways. No, the Most High allowed us. The Most High scattered us into the nations through our captivities. All right, I want you to really get that, because there's a point that I'm going to bring out towards the end of this. All right, so let's look at verse 28. And it says, "And there ye shall serve Elohim, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell." All right, so now we're scattered to the four corners of the earth, right? And now we're caught up in all these religions and Christianity and what have you, Islam, all of it. And everywhere our people are, that's where, what we're doing in our current time, worshiping these idols, our people who are sleeping and stuff like that, who are scattered to the four corners. And so this is the current condition we are in now. We are still scattered now. So how do we get out of that situation? So if some Hebrews are saying that, okay, well, all of a sudden we're going to just come to a place on our own. Well, how would that be possible if our people are already scattered to the four corners? So there's several things that are going on here within Deuteronomy 4:27-28. So for one, we're scattered. And two, we're worshiping idols. We're serving the heathens' gods. All right? That's fair to say because that's what's happening. That's what you look around. I mean, hell, look around to Zion. That's what's happening to our people. We are caught up in all this stuff. So now we're going to have to examine something even further. So before we go further, before we really get into the meat of this, let's look up some precepts, and let's try to look up as many verses as possible on how the Most High is going to gather his people. So that's what we need to do. We need to look how this is going to be done, or if we're going to be doing it, or if we're going to be going to going to a place. Because I even hear some Hebrews saying that we're gonna go by planes. Some Hebrews say we're gonna be gathered by UFOs. Since no one knows what that looks like, we have no idea because the Bible does not give. The Bible does not explain through what medium or through what that's going to look like. All we know is that the Most High is going to gather his people from the four corners of the earth. Now, how he does that, it still remains a secret. And so we got to try to get the best understanding as possible through the leading of the Ruach to find out how is this going to be. What is the Most High is going to use to transport everybody, or how he's going to gather everybody. So that's the whole purpose of really digging into this, Zion. So let's get ready to have some fun in the Ruach and learn some things. All right, Zion. So let's go ahead and dive head first into this. So let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 32 and verses 37. Jeremiah chapter 32 and verse 37. And as we're getting into this, let us pray that the Ruach will give us much greater understanding on this matter. So let's read. It says, "Behold, I will gather them out of all countries." Now remember, we just read in Deuteronomy 4:27 that the Most High scattered us into all the countries, right? We read that with our own eyes. So I wanted you to see that as a witness. So now we're seeing something a little different here. So when we go to Jeremiah 32:37, now it's saying, "Behold, I will gather them out of all the countries whither I have driven them in mine anger and in my fury and in great wrath, and I will bring them again unto this place, and I will cause them to dwell safely." All right, so let's examine what's going on here. So we see the word "I" several times in this verse. "Behold, I will gather whither I have driven," because the Most High driven us. He put us in captivity because of the sins of our forefathers. And then "I will bring," and then you look at the bottom, "and I will cause." All right, so this is a very strong indicator that the Most High, his divine power, the Most High is going to bring us out from these countries. Now, what still remains is the how. What is the medium, or what is I guess I would say the mode of transportation, the vehicle? What is it going to be? How is he going to gather his people? And it's going to become a little more clearer as we examine more. So let's read that again. It says, "Behold, I will gather them out of all countries, whither I have driven them in my anger and in my fury and in great wrath, and I will bring them out." So now he's saying that I have driven them in my anger and in my fury and great wrath will I bring them again unto this place. Now, why does the Most High say again? When did this take place before? When did the Most High ever bring us to a certain place when we were all together? Well, you guessed it, Egypt. So when we're going to examine that, we're going to examine that too. And see, and I think that's where some Hebrews are getting confused because they're comparing our departure from Egypt with the gathering that's going to happen in the near future or whenever that's going to be. But we're gonna look at all of that and we're going to examine everything. So several things that are happening that's going to happen when the Most High gathers us. There's going to be some wrath poured out. There's going to be some anger, and there's going to be some great destruction. All right. So before we go any further, let's look at some more precepts. Let's get some more so we can even get an even clearer understanding. All right. So this time we're going to still be in the book of Jeremiah, but this time let's go to Jeremiah chapter 30, and let's look at verse 3. And it says, "For lo, the days come, saith Elohim, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah." So you got to understand when it says my people Israel and Judah, it's talking about the southern and northern tribes. Now, according to Isaiah chapter 11, and we'll look at that later, but according to Isaiah 11:11, majority of the northern tribes are scattered throughout Africa, the Middle East, the Mediterranean islands, and we may have a few over here, but we know for sure that the camps of Judah are spread to the four corners of the earth. So Judah is everywhere. Okay, so let's get back to this. So it says, "For lo, the days come, saith Elohim, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel, the northern tribe, and Judah, the southern tribe, saith Elohim. And I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it." Now, let me tell you the reason why I believe that this is referring to the last days, because during all the other captivities, you had the Egyptian captivity. How did they depart Egypt? They departed out on foot, right? Horses, camels, mules, whatever they had. That's how they departed. They put bags and packages on them, and they headed up on out of Egypt with all the spoils and all that stuff with great substance. They headed out of Egypt. All right. Babylon, it wasn't as big. It wasn't as a big of exodus as it was in Egypt, but Babylon, when that captivity was over, they went back to their land. All right. Same thing with the Assyrians. You know, they went back after the captivity, went back to Jerusalem. And then during the Greek and the Roman captivity, they were already over in Jerusalem. They were just captive. They were just captives in their own land. So the point that I'm making here, Zion, is that when our people were in captivity, the previous captivities, they were all together. They were all together. All right. So it was much easier for them. And plus, they knew who they were. They were not destroyed like we are. And I'm going to show you why this current captivity is so unique. And you're going to understand why it's going to take the power of the Most High. It's going to take his total presence to bring us from all the nations that we're scattered to. Because this captivity is not like any other captivity, Zion, that we've ever been in. All the other captivities that we were in, we knew who we were, and we were together as a people. All right, you gotta clearly understand that to see the dynamics here. So anytime the Most High is talking here, he's saying that he's going to turn the captivity of our people, which is happening now as our people are getting back to Torah. And notice that there's going to be wrath involved. All right. And always, anytime that the Most High delivers his people, there's some wrath involved. That, you know, these nations are not going to just let us go peacefully. They're not going to just let Zion go. Egypt. The Most High had to bring Egypt down to its knees in order for them to let us go. And it's the same thing that's going to happen here, Zion. But instead of this world Babylonian system letting us go, the Most High is going to snatch us from it. Now, I want you to keep in mind, we read in Zechariah about the third going through the fire. So all the Most High needs is a third. He's gonna have a third. That's gonna be the remnant. And those are the ones I believe that are gonna be gathered, brothers and sisters. So let's look at some more. Let's get another precept. All right, so let's go to, give me a second here. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. Let me make sure that's the right one. Yep, Deuteronomy chapter 30. And let's look at verses 1 through 3. Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verses 1 through 3. Let's look at that. And it says, and it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon you, the blessings and the curses and the curse. So what happened? When were we blessed? During King David's rule, we had our blessings. When did the curse come? Well, after, when our forefathers sinned and kept breaking the commandments. So now we're coming out of those curses. And it goes on to say, which I have set before you, and you shall call them to mind among all the nations. So what's happening? Now the Most High are raising up priests. He is raising up servants to spin this message forward to the sleeping Hebrews that are scattered to the four corners of the earth. Now they are waking up and they're starting to join the fold. And our numbers are growing and growing. And then it goes on to say, whether Yahuwah Elohei has driven you. All right, so we read in Deuteronomy 4:27 that we were driven into the nations, we're scattered to the four corners of the earth, and we are few in number. That's why it seems like no matter where we are, it seems like we're outnumbered by the heathens. But technically we're not, because if you were to put us all together, we would well outnumber the heathens. But it just seems that way because we're in their land, we're in their territory. So it seems like we're the minority, but in reality, we are not. So let's look at verse 2. All right, and it reads, and shall return unto Yahuwah Elohei, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command you this day. You and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul. Verse 3, here's the kicker right here. It says, that then Yahuwah Elohei will turn your captivity and have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from what? From all the nations, whether Yahuwah Elohei has scattered you. So here it is again. So in several places we're reading Zion. I mean, it's clear, it's crystal. He says that he's going to gather us. Now, we still yet to see how the Most High is going to gather us. See, that's what we're trying to figure out here. We know that the gathering is going to take place. We know that it's going to be by divine intervention. There's no way that we can do this on our own, Zion. And I'm going to prove it to you why we can't do this on our own. And it's going to make so much sense to you when I read this scripture to you, when I show you. But we cannot just pick up and gather like this on our own because our people are scattered. Where are we going to go? How are we going to organize? One, we don't have an army. We don't have a social structure. We don't have a political structure. We don't have a financial structure. We are confused as a lying rug, Zion, and we are not organized. And so that's why it's going to take divine power to bring us. But don't worry, because I'm going to prove all that to you. So now it's like what's happening is that according to 2 Chronicles 7:14, we're turning unto the Most High. We're turning back to him. Now the Most High is starting to hear our cries. Now the Most High he has been sending his Ruach upon us to awaken his people. Now we're waking up all over the world. We're realizing who we are. We're getting back to our heritage that was so heavily stripped from us, our language, our way of life, everything. It's like we're starting all over again from scratch. Building up little by little. And along with that building up, we're encountering a lot of growing pains. And rightly so. But that's the way the Most High designed it. So let's get another one. Let's go ahead and turn to the book of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 5. Isaiah 43 and verse 5. And I got the scriptures up here as well too. So if you can keep up with them. All right, so it says, fear not, for I am with thee. Listen to this. I will bring thy seed, he's talking about his chosen people, Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east and gather thee from the west. All right. So it's clear that the Most High is going to gather his people from the four corners. But what is not clear yet, as of yet, is how that's going to be done. All right. And again, like I say, and like I said before, I hear Hebrews say there's going to be chariots, UFOs, but no one, and let's just keep it real, Zion. No one knows what that looks like. Okay. We don't know how that's going to take place. All we know is that the Most High is going to gather his people from the four corners of the earth. We don't need to be making up stuff, assuming stuff. We need to keep it real and read the scriptures as it is. All right. Because we can make all kinds of assumptions all day long how the Most High is going to deliver his people, whether they're going to use chariots, whether they're going to use, whether he's going to use some kind of divine power to open up portals. I don't know. All we know is that the Most High got this. He got this. The only thing we got to do is make sure that we got ourselves together so that we can be ready for when that time comes. So let's dig a little deeper. Let's get some more precepts. All right, so let's go over to Mark chapter 13, and let's look at verse 27. Mark chapter 13 and verse 27. And it says, and then shall he send his angels. He's going to send his angels. So we know, so if he's going to send his angels to gather us, we know for sure that this cannot be on our own merits. This cannot be on our own will. I mean, if we're supposed to move on our own will, then why would he need to send the angels to gather us from the four corners of the earth? You see what I'm saying? We gotta use the brains that the Most High has given us, Zion. We gotta use our senses to think this thing through, okay? Because this thing is way bigger than us, and it's gonna take some serious divine power to gather his people from the four corners of the elect, because these heathen nations got a tight rope on us, Zion. And I don't think you're hearing me. So let's read that again. Mark 13:27. And then shall he send his angels, and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of the heaven. So this is talking about all over the world, Zion, wherever his people are scattered to. But then again, it does not say, or it's not specific on what medium is that what's going to be used to gather his people. All right. So that's what we're still trying to get to. We know that we're going to be gathered by a powerful force. We just don't know. We just don't quite know what that looks like. So let's keep digging until we get close to an answer. All right. So let's go to Matthew this time, the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 24 and 31. And we know this is the end times because, anyone of you who studied Matthew chapter 24 is when Hamashiach was given the signs that we will be living in the end days. So let's look at this. Matthew 24:31. And it says, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Again, a second testimony in Matthew 24:31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. All right, so now we're starting to get a little more clue here. So we know when the Most High sends his angels, there's going to be a sound, brothers and sisters, like a trumpet. It says, and he shall send his angels with a great trumpet. What did we read in Luke? What did we read in Matthew and Mark? We read that he shall send his angels. But, it just says that he would send his angels to gather his elect from the four corners. So when we come over here to Matthew, and that's why we have to read precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, so we can get a better understanding of it. So now it's giving us more detail. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So this gives us a little more clue of kind of what it's going to possibly look like, but we still need more. We still don't know as far as what they're going to use to gather the Most High's people. And so we're gonna keep digging until we can find something that gives us some answers, Zion. And that's the whole purpose of studying the Most High's Word, is really digging so that we can find answers, digging into His Word like hidden treasures. So let's keep going. All right, so now let's go to Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, chapter 11, and we're going to read verses 11 through 12. All right, so let's look at that. And it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that Yahuwah shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. Now let's look at that very closely, because there's some key words in here that we're going to have to really bring out. So let me start at the very beginning. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahuwah shall set his hand again the second time. That second time, when did the second Adam come the first time? He came back during when the Roman was ruling. And so that was the first time. Now the second time has not happened yet. And this is why I know this verse is talking about the last days. This is in the future, Zion. This has not happened yet. It will happen, but it has not happened yet. So let's read that again. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahuwah shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant. Who's going to be that remnant? Remember we read back in Zechariah that the Most High is going to bring a third through the fire. That's that remnant. I'm telling you, it's all starting to come together. You just have to put the pieces together. All right, to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel. Outcast of Israel, what happened? The northern tribes are scattered throughout Africa, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean islands. And then it goes on to say, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. And see, Zion, when we talk about fleeing, okay, so let's just say for the sake of edification. So let's say that everybody just decided, every awakened Hebrew just decided they're going to flee. Well, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go where you feel like you're going to be safe? Did we not read in Deuteronomy 4:27 and 28 that the Most High had scattered us to the corners of the earth, and that we would be caught up in these idols, worshiping wood and stone? So where are you going to go where you feel like it's going to be safe? See, that's my point. So the thinking behind that we're going to just all of a sudden move ourselves to a safe place, that's not going to happen, Zion, because we're scattered. Because first of all, we're not an organized nation. We don't have the financial means, and I can say probably 99.9% of our people don't even have the means to even pack up and move and do something like that, let alone trying to flee somewhere. So we really got to think rationally, Zion, and really pay attention to details, because the scriptures is making it clear, the Most High is making it clear that no man is going to gather his people. It's not going to happen. We're not going to have a Moses that's going to lead us out into the wilderness. The Most High is going to do it. And this is what the Most High is trying to get us to see. We are powerless to do this on our own. And that's why I said earlier, it's going to take a divine power to bring us together. All right, to bring us in that place. So we're going to get some more, because I want to prove to you even further that trying to flee on your own thinking that you're trying to flee to a safe place. It's not going to happen. Yeah, you can, but you're going to have trouble. You're going to have problems, and it's not going to be the real thing, Zion. And next thing you know, you're going to be having troubles and issues. And so, we're going to have to be patient and wait on the Most High. But we're not done yet, because we want to get some more and prove to you even further that it's going to be the Most High that's going to gather his people and not man himself. All right, let's go to Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 10. Zephaniah 3:10, and it says, "From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring my offering." And so, the scriptures are clear to where our people are going to be gathered from and where our people are scattered to. So as far as what method is going to be used to gather our people still remains. We know it's going to be loud. We know it's going to be like a trumpet. We know it's going to be fearsome, with great power and with great wrath poured out. And that's how the Most High is going to deliver. It's not going to be nothing like Egypt, maybe similar in a sense of, the plagues falling. But with Egypt, all our people were together and they all left out together. But we are, in this current time, we are scattered, Zion, so we can't leave out together, like on foot, like our forefathers did in Egypt. And like I said earlier, it's going to take a divine power to bring us. And he already said that he's going to send his angels to do it. Now, what those angels use, don't know. We really don't know. And if anybody tells you that they do, then they're lying to you, because we don't. All we know that we're going to be gathered. All right, Zion, so before we move on, now I talked about fleeing earlier, and I want to show you where some of our brothers and sisters are getting this concept from when it comes to fleeing, because they're seeing the word flee Babylon and they think that it's referring to America. Now, I did a lesson on Babylon the Great. You can go back and check that out, but I'm not going to stay long on this because I want to make a quick point before we move on, because I don't want to lose my chain of thought. So let's look at Revelation chapter 18, and let's start with verse 2. And it goes on to say, "And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitations of devils, and the hold of every foul Ruach, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird." Okay, this is not talking about America per se, even though America is part of Babylon. It's part of the Babylonian system, part of Babylon, but this is not talking about America. So a lot of people feel like, we got to flee America. That's not what that's talking about, because no matter where you go, there's going to be corruption, there's going to be abominations. Remember, our people were scattered to the four corners of the earth. They weren't just scattered to America, Zion. Our people are all over the world. So let's jump down to verse 4, because that gives us a better understanding of what it's really talking about. And it says, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her." So my Babylon, come out of her. And this is where they get this flee stuff from. "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues." This is talking about come out of this religious system, come out of Christianity, come out of this paganism. That's what it's talking about, because the Bible says, Hamashiach says that we are in the world, but we are not of the world. There's a big difference. Of course, we got to live in this world, Zion. We got to live in this sinful world, but we don't have to take part in this world. So that's what come out of Babylon means. It's not talking about run somewhere and try to go to some other country because you're scared. It just means come out of abomination, come out of this paganism, and that's what it's talking about. But like I said, I don't have time to go into all that because that's a whole different subject, but I just wanted to bring that point out, and that's what people are getting that from. So when I showed you quite a few precepts already where the Most High is going to gather his people from the four corners. But what I'm getting ready to show you now is going to be mind-staggering, because I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to show you that possibly a way or the vehicle that the Most High is going to use to gather his people. Now, I don't know what that looks like. I'm not trying to predict anything, but I truly believe it will be some kind of transport or something, whether you want to call it a UFO or what. But I'm going to prove it to you through the scriptures. But first, let's go to Matthew, the book of Matthew. All right, so now let's go. I said the book of Matthew, and let's look at chapter 24, and we're going to look at verse 27. So Matthew 24 and 27. So remember, I showed you that we were trying to get to the bottom of, so when the Most High gathers his people, what are they going to use? What mode of transportation are they going to use? The angels are going to use to gather his people up. Okay. And so, like I said, all I'm doing is showing you scriptures, and then you can make that assessment with whatever you want to believe after that. But I got to show you this first, though. So let's look at verse 27. It says, "For as the lightning comes out of the east and shines even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Adam be." Okay, let me read that again because I want you to catch a key word here. For as the lightning. Now, notice it didn't say it was going to be lightning, but it says, for as the lightning comes out of the east and shines even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Adam be. Now, most of you all seen lightning storms, and you know how bright lightning can get, okay? So we have some more clues here. So one of the other clues was that it's going to be a sound like a trumpet when he comes to gather his people. And now it's saying it's going to be like lightning is when it shines out from the east into the west. So that means that it's going to be bright. So this is telling me more and more that there's going to be something that the angels use to gather his people up with. So we still don't really have the complete answers. But in order to get the complete answer, or maybe some more clues, we're going to go somewhere. But first, we got to understand here. So as we're putting things together, and as we're putting the scriptures and the precepts, we're putting the puzzle together, now it's starting to become more clearer that, first of all, the Most High is going to gather his people with an outstretched hand and with power and fury poured out, and that it's going to be a loud noise like a trumpet, and it's going to be bright. It's going to be so bright that everybody is going to see it. Now we got to figure out, okay, are there any scriptures that give us any clues to what that might be? What does that look like? What kind of object is it? What kind of technology is it? Because see, the technology that the angels have, way surpass these technologies that we have here on earth. So, and it's something we've probably never seen before and even never heard of. That's why it's going to be so phenomenal. That's why it's going to be so mind-boggling when we see it, Zion, in person, because we can't really imagine it. It's hard for us to fathom if we have not seen anything like that before. Just like when John the Revelator had those visions, the Most High was showing him things in the future, but John couldn't explain those things. He was trying to explain those weapons the best way he could. He saw missiles, tanks. He saw advanced weapons of war. He could not explain because they did not exist in his day. So he did the best he could to try to explain that. So now, as we're trying to figure out what type of vehicles these angels are going to use to gather the Most High's people from the four corners of the earth, I think we're getting closer to the clues. So with that being said, let's go to the book of Ezekiel. All right, Zion. So we're in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, and we're going to start with verse 4. And you better put your seatbelt on for this one because we're going to be in this one for a minute here. So let's start with verse 4. And it says, "And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness." Y'all hear that? "And a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire." Okay, Zion, I want you to picture something here. Now, y'all remember that movie, Encounters of the Third Kind, that came? And remember when this big craft, whatever it was coming, and you saw this big amberish bright light in the clouds and that thing. I mean, it was horrifying to look at. And that was just a movie. And so when I'm reading this right here, I'm going to read this again because this sounds so good. It says, and I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself. So Ezekiel is seeing something here. He is seeing something so horrific that he can't even explain what it is. And a brightness was about it, and out of the mist thereof as the color of amber, out of the mist of the fire. Now, I got this picture before you, so this is like the best picture I can find that kind of, gives a visual, because like I said, I'm a visual person, and I like to visualize things. All right, so let's continue on. Let's look at verse 5. And says, also out of the mist thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, verse 6, and everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings. And you know something, Zion, even me reading this, and I can't even do it no justice trying to explain what's going on here. But all I know is that this looks like the throne of the Most High, and he's coming with something. But we're going to get a little more detail. Let's look at verse 7. And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. Wow, so these are burnished brass. So these are black beings. Verse 9. Verse 8. It says, and they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went everyone straight forward. In verse 10, as for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle. These are creatures, boy, that and I see why now when it says that the heathens were, say, to the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on a throne, because this is the Most High's throne, and when the way this thing looks, and we can't even imagine, Zion. We can't even imagine it. Verse 11. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings on every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. And they went every one straight forward whither the Ruach was to go. They went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness, and this is verse 13, as for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. You hear that? Lightning. What do we read? As lightning comes from the east and shining unto the west, so shall the Son of Man be. It's the same descriptions, I am. I'm telling you, we're getting closer and closer to what this thing really is going to look like when the Most High comes back. This is giving us a lot of clues right here in his word. Let's look at verse 14. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. There's that word again, flash of lightning. Remember, we read that in Matthew 24:27. As lightning shineth out from the east, also to the west, so shall the Son of Man be. So it looks like this same craft, this same technology, whatever it is that was shown to Matthew and to John and to Ezekiel, is the same thing that we're going to see, brothers and sisters, when the Most High comes back. This stuff is powerful. All right, so let's continue on here. Verse 15, it says, now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one ophon upon the earth by the living creatures with their four faces. Verse 16, and the appearance of the Ophium and their work was like unto the color of beryl. And they four had one likeness in their appearance, and their work was as it were an ophon in the middle of an ophon or wheel. The wheel in the middle of a wheel. So this I'm telling you, Zion, this has to be some kind of craft at the Most High, some kind of high technology, the angelic, heavenly technology. And this is a literal, physical object that we're seeing here, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Ezekiel is doing his best to try to explain what he is seeing right here. It says, when they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. And that's verse 17. And it says, verse 18, as for their rings, not wings, their rings, as in like a circle, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them four. Y'all remember the movie that came out? What was the name of that movie? Oh, the Avengers, not Infinity Wars, but Endgame, the one that just came out. And you see at the end when those little portals started to open and all these different crafts started to come through and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's what this reminds me of right here. And this thing is going to be a horrific sight, Zion. We ain't seeing nothing. Just going over this and reading over this, it always brings goosebumps to me because, you know, I try to picture something like this, and it's like, oh boy, it's crazy. All right, so let's go to verse 20. If I haven't read that yet, again, let's read that again. It says, whithersoever the Ruach was to go, they went. Thither was their Ruach to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the Ruach of the living creature was in the wheels. I mean, this is deep, Zion. This is deep. And it says, when those went, these went, and when those stood, these stood, and when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the Ruach of the living creature was in the wheels. And so seeing something like this is just so mind-boggling. And I can only imagine. And so we read all those verses about the gathering, Zion. Here's our answer. And I truly believe this, what we're seeing right here, and how the angels are going to gather the elect from the four corners. This is possibly that this is the way it's going to be. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be this. I don't know. All I'm doing is just providing you scriptures and letting you make the assessment. So from what I've gathered and the conclusion that I'm coming to, Zion, according to what I'm reading, I truly believe that the Most High, when he sends his angels, they're going to be using some kind of high technology crafts, however, what they are, according to what I'm reading in Ezekiel, because that's what this is. And all a UFO stands for is unidentified flying object. So, because that's what it's going to be, because we've never seen anything like that, Zion. We've never seen technology like that. We've never seen such glory like that. We've never seen the throne of the Most High. We've never seen his throne, so we have no idea. So Ezekiel is trying his best to explain this thing the best way he can, but he's having a hard time because he's just struck with amazement, you know. Okay, so let's jump down to verse 28, and you all can go back and read. I would encourage you to just go back and just do an in-depth reading of that. You know, you may want to try to to get better understanding of it. Try to read it in different translations, but I mean, this is it's powerful. It's powerful, Zion. Let's look at verse 28. It says, and we're still in Ezekiel chapter 1. It says, as the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud, in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of Yahuwah. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spoke. So when the Most High comes, whatever this craft consists of, he's bringing that, and it's going to scare the living daylights out of these heathens, brothers and sisters, but not his people, because, yeah, we're going to be amazed. We're going to probably be frightened, but not that kind of fear where we feel like, oh, no, we're doomed. But we know, because in that moment, we're going to know that it's the Most High. We're going to know that it's his angels. And it's going to be a sight like we've never, ever witnessed in the history of this earth. So, and I'm excited, Zion. I really am. And, when I read things like this, and as we put scriptures together and we put the pieces together, and this is what the Most High wants us to do, we got to search the scriptures like hidden treasures, because it's our book. It's not for the heathens. It was our book to begin with. All right, so let's go to Ezekiel chapter 20, and let's look at verse 34. And it says, "And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty, mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out." So now we read all these verses talking about how the Most High is going to gather his elect. It's going to, and what it's going to pretty much look like. It's going to be like lightning that shineth from the east and shines from the west to the east and east to the west. And it's going to be powerful. It's going to be loud. And we read in Ezekiel of the possibility of what this thing is going to be and the glory of it. So, and I can pretty much say with a surety, Zion, that the way the Most High is going to gather his people is going to be used by some kind of craft. I don't even know what to call it. I really don't. I wouldn't know how to explain it. But if you want to call it UFOs, chariots, whatever. But I'm going to say instruments of the Most High. That's what he's going to use to gather his people up. And we saw in Ezekiel that instrument, that throne, is real, Zion. That is no joke. And can you just imagine the power of seeing something like that in person? We would be shaking in our pants. We wouldn't know what to do. It'd just be so horrifying to see, because we can't imagine, because we ain't seen nothing like that before. And let's look at verse 35. And it says, "And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face." That's going to be like training camp, Zion. And, we better get ready for it. So when he comes and gathers us, it's going to be with fury poured out. It's going to have to be. That's the only way. And there's no way that we can do this on our own, Zion. It's impossible. We can't. Not after the scriptures we just read over. All right, let's look at verse 36. And it says, "Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Mizraim, so will I plead with you, says Adonai Yahuwah." And, this is going to be one of them things, Zion, where the Most High is going to teach us everything. And when he says plead, he's going to cause us to pass under the rod, because it says that if you read down in the later chapters, in the further verses, when you read. And here it is right here, 37. It says, "And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant." What is a rod used for? A rod is used for correction, for straightening out things. And so how that's going to be used, I don't know. I don't know if it's a literal rod or if it's a spiritual rod. I'm thinking it's more of a spiritual rod, because we're going to be tested, because the Most High says later in the verses that he's going to weed out the rebels. He's going to purge out the rebels among us. So Zion, I'm telling you, the Most High has our back. If we truly are keeping ourselves in the Most High, we working out our salvation with fear and trembling, The Most High has our backs. He's going to take care of his people. And like I said earlier, I know it gets frustrating with our family members, our friends, and other people that we try to witness to. But I'm telling you, Zion, it's going to be well worth it. We just got to hang in there. We can't become weary. We can't become faint-hearted. And that's the last thing we need to do. And we need to remain strong in this walk, because as these years go by and as we get closer and closer to the coming of our Hamashiach, Zion, it's gonna be time to straighten up and fly right. You know, we got to get our own houses in order. You know, get ourselves worked on and purified, as we talked about earlier, going through the fire and what that's going to consist of. All right, so go ahead and write these scriptures down, because they're not going to be listed up here. So make sure you write these scriptures down. All right, let's go to Jeremiah, because, see, this is what we don't want to do, Zion. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 5. Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 5. It says, "Thus saith Elohim, cursed be the man that trusted in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart depart from Yahuwah." It's important, Zion. We must keep our full trust, because man is going to fail us every time. See, we are carnal, Zion. We are carnal, and we are wicked. So why would you want to put trust in man when you can put trust in the divine source and you got unlimited power? But no, we don't want that. We want man worship. We want to look to man for answers instead of coming to the Most High. Okay, let's go to Colossians. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. That's going to be Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. And it says, "Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, and after the rudiments of the world, and not after Hamashiach." Got to be careful, saints. That's coming from Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 15 and verse 9. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 9. Excuse me. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 9. It says, "But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men." Teaching for the doctrines, the commandments of men. We must test the spirit, Zion, not following after just anybody. Testing the spirits. All right. So let's go to 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 1. 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, "Now the Ruach speaketh expressly that in the latter times," the last days we're living in, these current times, it says, "some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils." What did I say earlier, Zion? I said that many of our people are going to start falling away because they don't have no root planted. You know, their house is planted on the sand, and when the wind comes, they're going to be blown away. They're going to be blown away. They're going to walk away, and the parable of the sower is going to hit its mark. I didn't write this word, Zion. This was long here, way before we got here. All right, let's look at Psalms. Let's look at Psalms chapter 118. Psalms chapter 118 and verses 8 through 9. It says, "It is better to trust in Elohim. It is better to trust in Elohim than to put confidence in man. It is better to trust in Yahuwah than to put confidence in princes." So that's actually, it is better to trust in Yahuwah than to put confidence in princes. And it is better to trust in Yahuwah than to put confidence in man. We got to be careful, Zion. Got to be very careful. And this is one of my favorite verses right here. I love this verse. So this is going to be Ecclesiasticus chapter 23, verses 19 through 20, because see, there's nothing that we can hide from the Most High. I don't care what it is. There's nothing we can hide from the Most High. So Ecclesiasticus 23:19, Ecclesiasticus 23:19 through 20. And it says, such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of Yahuwah are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. Y'all hear that? Beholding all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts. He knew all things ere ever they were created, so also after they were perfected, he looked upon them all. I'll read that first part. It says that the eyes of Yahuwah are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. We can't even look at the sun without our eyes becoming damaged, Zion. And here it says that the eyes of Yahuwah are 10,000 times brighter. Y'all hear me? 10,000 times brighter. So, Zion, look, we have nothing to fear. The only thing that we have to fear is that we find ourselves outside of the grace of Hamashiach. You know, and that's something that we're going to have to really plug down and put our feet to the ground and make sure that we're planted on solid foundations, Zion, because I'm telling you, the great shaking is already happening. Many of our people are being shaken out left and right, and only the strong are going to remain. Only the strong is going to remain. And I did not write that. So Zion, stay encouraged. Study this word. You know, in and out of season. Study this word. And pray. Practice trusting in the Most High. We got to change our thinking patterns. You know, the Bible says in Nahum 1:9, it says, "What do you imagine against Yahuwah?" It says that affliction shall not arise a second time. This is it. This is our last captivity, Zion. This is it. There's not going to be no more captivity after this. None. So, like I said earlier, we either straighten up or fly right, or we fall off the cliff. And I'm telling you, for me and my house, I've already made a vow to serve the Most High, even if it kills me. So that's where I'm at. So with that being said, Zion, I really pray that you were edified. I pray that you got fed. I know I did. And so I'm going to say shalom and stay strong.
Whoa, yeah. I gotta thank Yahuwah for being the chosen seed of Israel. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of Mashiach. Whoa, yeah. I gotta thank Yahuwah for being the chosen seed of Israel. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of the Mashiach. Yo, yeah, whoa. I'm here to encourage you, brothers and sisters, trying to paint to you a better picture. Everything I say, I back it up with the scriptures to get you out the matrix. It's been over 400 years of life. You gotta open up your eyes, 'cause there's so many reasons we in captivity. You gotta flee from the heathens. There is hope in our future, even though they trying to do us in. But we live to fight another day. Vengeance is Yah. We'll be praying for Yahuwah. I gotta thank Yahuwah for being the chosen seed of Israel. Here's the patience of the saints. Whoa. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah, and the faith of Mashiach. Whoa, yeah. I gotta thank Yahuwah for being the chosen seed of Israel. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of the Mashiach.